I'm John Raymond, and I teach jazz trumpet here at the Jacobs School of Music at Indiana University. Well, ironically, Orrin Evans and I met on Facebook. He is a very active band leader and musician in the Philidelphia and New York areas and really all around the world. And he has a big band called the Captain Black Big Band, and for a long time he had a residency where he would play every Monday night at a club called Smoke Jazz Club. And he occasionally would put out feelers on Facebook if he needed a sub for one of the chairs last minute. And I was always a huge fan of his music and of the band, and so I saw one day that he was looking for a trumpet sub and contacted him on Facebook, and we started playing together. And we, in many ways, connected, on a musical level, but also on a personal level. Orrin is a family man and has two sons, and is also a very active band leader, like I mentioned. Has released, I think, like 25 or 30 albums under his own name. I mean, it's a really prolific output for somebody who's only in his mid-40s. And I think in a lot of ways I could relate to the process and the journey that he's been on as a musician, and so we have connected on a number of levels, and basically from that point on, I was fortunate enough to be kind of considered a part of the band, and that band in particular functions kind of like a family, where when you're kind of part of the family, you're always a part of the family. Even if you can't do a gig, you're still kind of the first call in the group. So that lasted for about 3 years or so before I left New York, and I've been here now for a year and a half, and still considered a part of the band, but haven't gotten to play with them quite as much. So I think part of it came out of the fact that we were playing every week at the same venue, and so there was a certain rapport between the musicians that was able to develop that made those Monday nights very, very special, and it was something that kind of became it gathered a little buzz around New York as being this like go-to night of music, that if you want this thing that the Captain Black Big Band is doing, it's going to happen every Monday. And so I think the decision was really to try to capture the spirit of what those Monday nights had become. And so we actually recorded live 2 separate nights in Philadelphia, which is Orrin's hometown. And the recordings came out really, really well. And I think they capture in many ways sort of the adventurousness and the rawness of the band. It's not a very polished recording in some senses, but that's very typical of how the band functions. It's very loose and very spontaneous, and a lot of exciting things happen with that. So. Well, over the course of my time playing regularly with the band, Orrin, regularly would ask members in the group to contribute tunes, and it functions very differently than most big bands in the sense that these could be charts that were just like a single lead sheet that were brought in for everybody to figure out and make an arrangement to on the spot. Mm-hmm. It could be that minimal, or it could be something as fleshed out as an entire, sort of big band arrangement. And I decided to bring in, one of my songs, which I recorded on my very first record back in 2012, called Onward, and just thought it would be a really nice vehicle for the band. It was kind of felt like something that, we didn't have anything else like that in the book, and so, Orrin happily, had us sight read it on the gig that we did it, the first gig that we did it. The band never rehearsed. So, you just kind of figured it out over time, and it was also a great vehicle for me to write for the band. I think that really helped develop some large ensemble arranging and composing chops on my end too. So I contributed Onward, so that's my my tune and an arrangement that I did on that. And then I also did an arrangement of one of Orrin's songs called Flip the Script, which was the title track of one of his previous records over the last few years. And again, Orrin typically would, a few days before a gig would say, okay, I want to do these songs. Can somebody arrange them for the band? And he'd send out 3 or 4 songs. I think that particular occasion, he actually assigned me that tune to arrange and write. And so I was like, okay, this is a really daunting task to do in a few days, but I made it happen, and I think it came out really well, and it kind of embodies sort of the craziness that piece is, so that was my other contribution to it. Well, I think the common theme for me between Orrin and the Captain Black Big Band and my own projects is this sense of community and sense of family, and this whole idea that the music that can be made between people that are very close to each other and that play together a lot, which is similar in the Captain Black Big Band in the sense we got to play together every Monday, basically the same group of people every week. And between my own group, Real Fields, which we've been a band now for 5 years and have never done any gigs that haven't been the 3 of us specifically. And so you develop a certain kind of chemistry with that I think really affects the music in a positive way, especially in an improvisational context. You really learn to trust each other on this kind of deeper level, and that results in, I think, taking more chances musically and having the music go in many different directions that can be unexpected, but we all know that we have each other's backs, and that's a very powerful thing, and a thing that honestly I think is increasingly more rare in the jazz world these days, because most people function as a band leader and they hire a band to play their music, and while there might be still a sense of camaraderie or friendship between the musicians that they hire, they're still kind of the sole person leading the charge. And even though Orrin's name is kind of on the front of the album, and it certainly is his project, and he is absolutely the band leader in every sense, musical and otherwise, how that group functions is very much like an equal opportunity sort of group. It's a democracy. Everybody has a say, and that can affect the music at any given time. So. Yeah, I think, again, as I said, that seems to be a thing that's lost in jazz these days, and the social aspect of it and the communal aspect of it. And I think in an academic setting like here at IU, the tendency can be, we're just doing this because we have to do this ensemble, and we're going to play the music really well and we're going to polish it, but it can be difficult to try to cultivate friendships and relationships with the other musicians that you're playing with, so much so that if you change one piece in the band, it's drastically different, And so I think that's absolutely something that I try to bring to the ensemble that I direct here, and I hope that it's coming across. And I think it is. I think the students feel a sense of ownership over the music because of how things are going with it. I think on a certain level, being able to have the opportunity to teach here at IU helps me on a very personal level, because whenever you have to teach anything, you become a lot stronger at what you're teaching. You have to really embody and embrace everything that you're saying and practice what you preach. And I think that in a lot of respects, for probably most every teacher, it makes you a better musician, and it makes you more aware, and it makes you more competent, and just raises the level of your own artistry in many ways. And so I feel very grateful for that. But I'm also, very grateful to teach here because I feel like the faculty in the Jazz Studies program in particular, and the students in the Jazz Studies program who I mainly interact with, it's a lot of people that really care and really have an investment in sort of continuing the jazz tradition in 2019 and what that looks like now. And from a faculty standpoint, I think, I feel like I'm surrounded by master teachers and players that I get to interact with every day. And on a student level, every single student in the program works their butt off to try to be the best musician that they can be. And when you're in an environment like that, a lot of special things can happen. And I don't think that's very true about all schools necessarily. And that's what makes this place very unique.